Hello everyone, how are you? Today I welcome you to the long-awaited fourth season of What If Naruto Falls in Love with Sasuke, FEM, and Pretends to be Weak. If you want more seasons, let me know in the comments. Now then, enjoy.
Yakushi Kabuto. It's my name. The now named Kabuto politely introduced himself. And I'm somewhat of a veteran of this exam, he added with an embarrassed tone. Anyways, you are the Rookie 9, are you not? The ones who graduated only few months ago. That's right, Kiba exclaimed. First rookies nominated in years. While this is impressive, you should calm down. This isn't a field trip, Kabuto said darkly. Many of the genins here are from foreign villages we are barely friendly with. They won't hesitate to kill you. You look very knowledgeable on this exam, Kabuto-san. Sakura intervened. Is this your second time? No, Kabuto smiled. This is my seventh. He commented with much embarrassment in his voice. This made the Konoha genin widen their eyes in shock. Wow, 7 times. You must really suck, Kiba rudely remarked as he couldn't help but laugh at Kabuto, which earned him a smack on the back of his head from Sakura. Damn it, Sakura, he muttered in annoyance. That's what you get for being rude. He is older than us. Sakura scolded sternly. Hee. While that may be, but thanks to doing this so many times I've been able to gather a lot of good information, Kabuto commented. Then that means you must have a lot of information, right? Sasuke asked with her arms crossed. Kabuto smiled and nodded. That's right, and I'm willing to share what I know. He still has not been able to pass. Keep that in mind, Shino reminded, not trusting of the overly friendly genin. The white-haired boy whipped out a deck of cards and began to shuffle them, before he pulled out one of them. These are my Nin info cards. I have information on everyone attending this year. Since you're new, I'll be nice and help you out a bit. Is there someone you would like to know more about? Kabuto offered the rookies. Yes, Rock Lee and Sabaku no Sara, Sasuke said. Kabuto simply smiled. Oh, you know their names? Too easy. He pulled out a card. Let's start with Rock Lee. He graduated last year. Mission experience is 59 D ranks, 13 C ranks. Not bad. Teammates are Hyuga Niji and Tenten. Jounin Sensei is Mike Guy. He has a high level of taijutsu and he has improved greatly in the last year, but he is almost subpar in the other fields. He stood out as a very talented genin last year but did not take the exam, so it's his first time as well. A taijutsu specialist, Sakura contemplated. Next one is Sabaku no Sara. Her mission experience is 9 C ranks and 2 B ranks. Wow, that is impressive as a genin. Teammates are Tamari and Kankuro, her siblings. Jounin Sensei is Baki. They are actually the children of the Kazekage. I don't know who their Jounin Sensei is. Her abilities are unknown. Sorry, but she is from Suna, you know. Oh, this is interesting though. She apparently has come back from all her missions without a scratch. That got the Uchiha attention. I know it. I've a very bad feeling about that girl. Her own siblings even are scared out of their mind of her. And Naruto's attitude at that time. I want Uzumaki Naruto's, Kiba exclaimed, which made Sasuke send a sharp glare to him. That annoyed moron. Meh, you can ask, you know? Naruto replied, pouting. Kabuto sweat dropped. All right then, he replied as he started to go through the cards. Next is Uzumaki Naruto from Konoha, age 12 years old. Was known as the dead last and failed the academy twice. The nearby Nin listening and snickered at that, but Naruto ignored it. Teammate are Uchiha Sasuke and Adhering Shino. Jounin Sensei is Hatake Kakashi. Mission history. Kabuto's eyes widened. D rank 19, E rank 1, S rank 1. Received a C-turned-S rank mission with teammates Uchiha Sasuke and Adhering Shino when client was targeted by missing Nin Zabuza of Kirigakure. Naruto narrowed at Kabuto, wondering where and how he got all that information while the room gaped at them in open shock. Kabuto was quick to get over his own shock, smirking at the group. Konoha, Suna, Kusa, AIM, many outstanding genin from the various hidden villages are here to take the exam. Well, Otogakure is a small village just created last year, so there isn't much info. But The rest of the hidden villages are filled with talented youngsters. This guy doesn't act or talk like a genin, Naruto thought to himself. And he has information that only the Hokage, some people, and I know. No one else but me and them know about my A-rank mission with the traitor Mizuki. Maybe he even knows about Kurama. I have to be careful. I'm not sure if we're ready for this, Sakura said, shaken by the tone in which the conversation had taken. Too late to say something like that. Sasuke responded coolly. There is a new village that is taking part, Otogekure. I don't have much information on them since they were just recently created, but it's easy to say all participating are the elite of their country. With this, the genin took a moment to think over the implications they were now faced with. Knowing they would be fighting against the best who even could be in Chunin level though they were genin, did they really stand a chance? In one particular corner of the assembly, 3 genin of a recently mentioned village eyed the group with annoyance. They had heard the dismissive comments made on sound and were too prideful not to take offense. Did you hear that? They made it sound like Oto was a small and inconsequential village. They need to be taught a lesson. Let's play for a bit. They disappeared in a blur, running across the room for their target. A few heads turned but barely any registered their movement as they flitted through the gaps of people with ease. Sasuke, Shino, and Naruto turned their heads and noticed the movement, soon realizing their target was Kabuto. The blonde glanced over and saw the leaf genin had noticed as well, watching from the corner of his eye. They watched as one launched up into the air and threw kunai at Kabuto, forcing him to fall back. That made him take his eyes off the real threat as Dosu launched himself forward, thrusting his melody arm out and just barely missing Kabuto's nose. Sliding back, he was able to escape their attack and take a moment to catch his breath. Observing the attack, it seemed as if it wasn't meant to hit him physically, but the others did not understand why. At first it seemed as though they had missed their mark, and the silver-haired genin smiled in confidence. That was until his glasses shattered, forcing him to remove them. So, it was that kind of attack, he said quietly, grasping the concept behind Dosu's move. How could that be? The attack missed, Sasuke said in confusion. It must have hit his nose. That's what he gets for trying to show off. Shikamaru denounced Kabuto's casual stance with the attack. The Oto ninja remained in a standoff with Kabuto as his calm composure faltered suddenly, forcing him to his knees in pain. He was forced to vomit, surprising those watching the display. Kabuto-san, Sakura shouted in concern. It was an attack based off of sound waves produced from the device attached to that guy's arm. Naruto spoke out and everyone looked at him. You noticed how he purposely missed because the point behind the attack was not physical. Sound waves? It's possible to manipulate them into a weapon. Ino asked. Yeah. Naruto nodded firmly. You would be surprised how lethal they can be, but to find anyone who can use them like that is rare. He will be a dangerous opponent if not dealt with properly. Rookie genins eyed the Oto shinobi carefully. It seemed they really were not ones to underestimate. You don't seem so tough for a 4-year veteran. Write this on your card. The Oto genin are going to become Chunin. Dosu mocked the downed Konoha genin while Zaku gloated. Quiet down, you maggots. Attention was brought to the front of the room as a large puff of smoke appeared following the loud announcement. It revealed a host of examiners standing behind the tallest and most intimidating of them all. A man in a large trench coat and many scars adorning his face. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm Marino Ibiki and I am the first exams proctor. He pointed an accusing finger to the back of the room where the altercation took place, making a few sweat in anxiety. With a scowl, his voice again filled the room in a harsh scold. You 3 from Oto. Don't think you can get away with fighting when we aren't around. Dosu turned his head and bowed in address, smiling beneath his bandages. Apologies. I was just a bit excited since this is my first exam. Ibiki just shook his head and looked around the room at the rest of the examinees. All right, midgets. Now everyone give your applications to one of us proctors, and they will give you a number. Once you got it, you will sit in your assigned seats. It's time to start the first part of the exam. All around the young genin, the older shinobis were sitting around them, each one having a notepad and a pen on hand. This first exam has few important rules. I will not accept any questions, so listen carefully. Ibiki began. First rule is you all are given 10 points at the start. The written exam consists of 10 questions. Each one is worth 1 point. This test is a deduction-based test. Ibiki started to explain as he wrote on the chalkboard. If you get one problem wrong, you will get 1 point deducted. If you get 3 problems wrong, your points will be reduced to 7. The Tokubetsu Jounin explained as he then gave a quick example. Sasuke narrowed her eyes. A written test. It's no problem with me, she thought confidently. Second rule. The pass-fail decision will be determined by your team's total points. Ibiki then revealed. What? The Uchiha widened her eyes, feeling shocked. But that means, wait, you team's total points? What? Sakura screeched in confusion. Shut up. There is a reason for this, so just shut up and listen. Ibiki shouted in annoyance, instantly silencing the girl. Now that you know, let's move on to the next rule. If an examiner determines that you cheated or do something similar during the test, each action will cause you to lose 2 points. Ibiki declared with satisfaction on his face. In other words, there will be people who will be forced to leave this place without their test being graded. Ibiki continued explaining. Damn it! Kiba grumbled out. Those who try to cheat without thinking carefully will only hurt themselves. Ibiki stated in a serious matter. Good to know. The Inuzuka got out in annoyance at being watched. Hinata got out as she decided to stay quiet. Troublesome. Shikamaru muttered out while rubbing the back of his head. You are all trying to become Chunin. If you are a ninja, act like a first-rate one. Ibiki declared with a sadistic smile on his face. Also, if anyone in a team gets a 0, everyone on that team will fail. He soon declared with a serious tone. Wait, what? Sasuke thought with shocked. Oh no! Ino mumbled out quietly. Sasuke quickly gazed at her 2 teammates. 2 idiots. Better do their best or else. A good going overwaits for them, she thought, glaring at them, and started releasing a dark aura. Naruto and Shino, who were sitting in their seat, suddenly felt a cold shiver that ran down their spine. They glanced and saw the Uchiha's fierce look. Of course she will do that. The Aburame mentally sighed. So fearful. The Uzumaki thought while trying to avoid her horrifying glare. Calm down, Naruto. It will be fine if you do it well. Ashura encouraged him. You spent a full month studying and the idiotic Ashura taught as much as he can. This isn't an impossibly task for you. The Otsutsuki sulked in a corner as he was called idiotic by the fox. The last problem will be given 45 minutes after the exam begins. Ibiki concluded the explanation of the rules. You have 1 hour. You will now receive a paper with 9 questions. The last one will be given to you 10 minutes before the end of the exam. So those of you who will finish early will have to wait. The clock then began ticking as Ibiki waited until the clock reached exactly 3:30. Begin! Ibiki declared loudly as the first part of the Chunin exam began. Heads were soon bent down and papers flipped over as the genin took their first looks at the paper. Shino seated in the 4th row among a few Konoha shinobi. Naruto was in the 7th row with Shikamaru next to him, and Sasuke was in the 2nd row between Asuna and a Omega shinobi. Not noticing a Kusugakure Kunoichi was eyeing her. All right, let's see. Sasuke began to read and then frowned. What the hell is this? This is really the test for genins in the Chunin exam? She shouted in her mind as she looked at a large random word and number pile in an equally random order on the paper. Question 2. Shino started as he continued to read over the exam. The parabola B represent a shuriken's maximum throwing distance of the enemy ninja A from the height of 7 meters. Figure out the trait of the enemy ninja that can be visible by the ellipse of the shuriken and figure out the maximum throwing distance on flat ground. Explain your reasoning. He finished reading. To answer this one needs to figure out data from indefinite facts. This question is even harder than the lectures my clan ever tested on me. The Aburame analyzed with a tone full of suspicion. Meanwhile, Naruto was still focusing on the paper test and smirked slightly after reading it. He took the pen and started writing on the paper. I never thought that the Chunin exam would be very interesting like that. This is just the first part though. He thought to himself, then looking around him, especially his 2 teammates. Let's see what you will do in this situation. Haim-chan, Shino. He thought with a mischievous smile. This wasn't unnoticed by the pineapple head next to him. Troublesome blonde. Shikamaru mentally complained and started doing his test. The Hokage Tower. The Jounin senseis meanwhile were relaxing some time off as their students were at the exams. Well, Kakashi got out, getting everyone's attention. It sure is boring without my team. The missions will have to wait. He commented with a lazy tone. They will pass the exam, Kakashi, my eternal rival. Guy spoke loudly, confidently. They had their youthful power and great skills. Don't worry, you'll be busy again soon, Asuma stated with a sure tone. He then breathed a puff of smoke from his cigarette as he looked at the other Jounin. I heard that the examiner for the first test is Marino Ibiki, he revealed. To hearing that, the silver-haired man groaned at the name. Oh, not that sadist, Kakashi commented as he sweat drop. Passing the first test may be difficult for them, he thought to himself. Sadist, Kurenai repeated in confusion. Right? Kurenai is a new Jounin, so you wouldn't know, Asuma stated in a calm tone. Kurenai had an annoyed expression at being stated to be a newbie. Who is he? She simply asked. A pro, Asuma simply answered. A pro, the Genjutsu mistress questioned, not understanding what the smoking Jounin meant. Of what? She asked. Asuma then took a deep smoke of his cigarette and with a large grin on his face, turned to the confused Kunoichi. Torture and interrogation, he revealed. Sasuke meanwhile was still struggling as she looked over all the questions. Again, I honestly can't answer even a single damn one, the young Uchiha thought in a slightly fear. Like her adhering teammate, Sasuke too was homeschooled by her strict father for a while before going to the academy. However, these questions were far beyond anything she had ever learned. She then looked at the last question and narrowed her eyes. This question will be revealed 45 minutes after the test begins. Listen to the examiner closely before answering, the paper stated at the bottom. What's up with this question anyway? She thought after she read the strange description of the last question. Shino looked like thinking about something. All questions are well above Chunin level. Unless we were on Sakura, Shikamaru, or Naruto's level of intelligence, we couldn't answer them even one question. He then realized something. Wait a minute. In her seat, Sasuke also felt something. Now that I think about it, what that man said, she thought as she recalled the proctor's words. Something hit her and the Uchiha widened her eyes. Naruto, who completed his test and was waiting the final question, glanced at his two teammates amusingly when he saw their expression. They're most likely getting the proctor's implication. He chuckled inside. Anybody can see only a seasoned Chunin should only be able to solve something like this, with few exceptions. And we will fail if we are caught cheating by proctors around us, so we just don't get caught, or in other words, Sasuke and Shino came to the same realization. We have to cheat by playing a trick. They thought in unison. That is something shinobi must always have during a mission. Naruto grinned amusingly. An exam for information gathering, eh? The Uchiha thought with a smirk. We have to make sure that we do not get caught as we gather information. Shino started looking around him. Which means, there might be fake genins here that will have all the answers. At the realization of actually having to cheat, Sasuke activated her Sharingan to copy the moments of one of the shinobi writing the answers. For Shino, outstretching his arm to adjust the place of his paper and writing utensils, a few bugs flew from his sleeve and began to migrate around the room to avoid suspicion. Then all of the rest of the Chunin hopefuls also realized this and began to use their own skills and jutsu to cheat. Tenten was doing a very complex trick with mirrors. Hinata and Niji activated their Byakugan so that they could see the answers themselves. Ino used her mind transfer on Sakura, who was totally able to complete her test herself. Kiba had Akamaru bark the answer to him. Sara was using a strange I made of sand and then spelled the answer to Temari, always with sand. Kankuro had asked to go in the bathroom and had since then disappeared. Unless he had some serious problem, he was evidently cheating somehow. A puppeteer, eh? Not bad. Of course, it was not difficult for Naruto realizing his trick. Sasuke soon deactivated her Sharingan after finishing the questions, and she then looked at her Aburame teammate. Looks like he figured it out as well. She then turned to the third member of Team 7 and saw him more relaxed than anybody. How the hell he is able to be so carefree in this situation? The Uchiha shouted inside as a tick mark appeared on her forehead. Whoa! A genin behind Sasuke got out as he saw a kunai embedded in the table and paper. The hell? She was shocked to the sudden action. Someone got caught. Naruto thought, still observing everything around him. What the hell was that for? The genin got out in a confused and fear-filled tone. The proctor who threw the kunai smirked as he looked at the startled genin. You screwed up 5 times, he answered. Which means you failed. He then added, and no way. The genin got out in shock. Now you and your teammates are to leave immediately. The proctor then ordered in a dead serious tone. To this, the shocked genin along with his teammates stood up as they began to leave the room. Number 9 fail, the other proctor said. Number 71 fails. He continued. Number 149 fail. Another proctor declared. Damn it. So it's not only information gathering but also mental stress challenge. Sasuke mentally cursed, gritting her teeth. Everyone was not only responsible for themselves, but for their teammates as well. Either because they were afraid of their reaction if they failed them, or genuinely cared for them, it created a lot of pressure. She glanced at Naruto once more, who was still comfortable at his seat. For God's sake, I will surely take a swing at that dobe if we fail just because he doesn't complete his test. She thought darkly. Number 102, fail. Proctor then declared. This is bullshit. How can you say I cheated 5 times? A genin ranted as he stood up and slammed a hand on the table. There's no way you can concentrate on all of US. He then roared. Where's your GAHH? The same ranting genin was suddenly forced up against the wall and began struggling for air as a proctor held him up with a smug look. Listen, among Chunin, we are the elites that were assembled to watch over this exam. He then explained in a menacing tone. We haven't missed a thing you've done. You can say that this strength is our proof. Numbers 43 and 27, fail. The examiners were continuing stating. More and more genins either continue cheating by using very unique ways or being caught and failed. The pressure got bigger at every tick of the clock. Right? Put your pens up, punks. Ibiki barked as the clock hit 10.45. The incompetent ones had already left us, so now we can proceed with the last question. He looked over those that remained. Every single genin waited with both fear and anticipation for the final question. But there is something I have to say first. There will be some special rules for this question. Ibiki stated with a long and dragging tone. To hearing this statement, all of the genin were startled by what they could be about. Taking a sick pleasure of the startled expressions, Ibiki chuckled before his eyes narrowed. These are the rules of desperation, he declared with dead serious tone. There was a long and heavy atmosphere that was caused after Ibiki declared that there will be rules for the last question. Rules of desperation? Sakura said as she gave a nervous gulp. After another moment, Ibiki looked at the remaining genin before he looked at them in general. First, for this 10th question, he began as he waited a few moments. You must decide whether you will take it or not. The description of the first rule confused many. Choose whether to take it? Sasuke thought confusingly. Choose? What happens if we choose not to? Temari shouted as she was more vocal with her confusion. Ibiki didn't reply immediately as he closed his eyes as if he was gathering his thoughts. If you choose not to, your points will be reduced to 0. He finally replied with a dead serious expression and tone. You fail, along with you 2 teammates. Then of course we will decide to take the question. One genin shouted. Ibiki ignored him and put his hands in his pockets. However, if you chose to take the question and fail it, you will. He paused, smirking evilly. Lose the right to take the Chunin exam ever again. What? Sasuke yelled in her head. Losing the right to take the next exam, which mean. She felt chilling with her next words. We will be genin forever. Gasps filled the room. Many people started to tremble while others protested in rage. A lose-lose situation, Ashura stated in a serious tone. That guy is good. Kurama noted when genin in the room was freaking out. Not everyone can be as good at mind games as him. That's bull, Kiba shouted. There are other genin here who have done this exam before. Ibiki chuckled in amusing. You are unlucky, brat. Those presiding the exams change every year. And this year went to me. I alone make the rules. If you fail, you'll never get the chance to become Chunin again. There is nothing you can do about it. Ibiki looked them over, smiling with false gentleness. He looked like a predator ready to leap. That is why you have the chance of quitting. If you aren't confident, you can try again next year, or the year after even. So, if you want to leave, raise your hand. Kurenai were still confused by what Asuma had just said. Wait, they're actually allowed to torture the genin? Kurenai soon questioned with fear. Isn't it a bit too much to do such a thing on inexperienced genin? And even seasoned ones would still be too much. She then stated with worry-filled tone. Well, there may not be physical torture while taking a test. Asuma quickly declared to put the Kunoichi sphere to rest. But they must be experiencing mental suffering brought on by his interrogation skills. He then clarified. At this clarification made the red-eyed Jounin somewhat relief at the thought of not being any physical torture. Thought she was still worried for her students. Tokubetsu Jounin Marino Ibiki, lead assassination squad, torture and interrogation captain. Kakashi listed off the details of the current proctor. That man is so good at his job that he only need to use words to make the genin self-destroy themselves. He then added, not to mention that he actually enjoys doing that. Asuma soon added with a chuckle. This made Kurenai gain a deadpan expression. So that's why he's a sadist. Alright, let's change the subject, okay? Kakashi suggested. Ain't no use concerning about our students now. If they are so determined to become a Chunin, we will pass this exam easily. All Jounin in the room focused their attention on the silver-haired Jounin. What do you want to talk about? A moment of uneasy silence then went through the room as many of the genin were unsure what to do. This is insane. One genin got out in a fear-filled tone. I can't take it. Another admitted in shame. To take a test that you have no way of knowing you can pass? Another repeated. Who would choose to risk taking the test with so much on the line? One more questioned. Maybe it's best to wait when this guy isn't the proctor. Another then decided. This and many more thoughts and whispers of the genins giving up could be heard all around the room. I'm sorry, guys. One genin apologized to his teammates as he and his team stood up and left. Numbers 50, 130, and 111. All fail. Proctor announced. I'm sorry, Janai. Idaho. Damn it. The genin who just gave up exclaimed as his teammates rose. Me too. Another one cried out. Several hands shot upwards after that. Then slowly one by one genins began to raise their hands and gave up. This continued for a little bit, but it was enough to make the remaining genin feel much more tense and nervous. After a long time waiting, multiple genin besides the Konoha's rookie teams, Kabuto's team, the Tsunade team involving Sara and his siblings, the Odo team that were the three that attempted to attack Kabuto, and a few others started to give up and left, leaving only 78 genin left. Ibiki took a glance across the room again and asked, I ask again, are the 78 of you that's left absolutely sure that you want to take the final question? All right, I think you should stop here. A voice spoke out. Everyone simultaneously turned toward the direction of the voice, where a boy with blonde-haired, blue eyes and whiskered face was standing and his hands in his pocket. A smile was on his face. Naruto. Sasuke looked at her teammate. What is he going to do? Shino watched him silently. What's that loser going to do? Kiba asked Hinata, who was next to him, quietly, and she just shook her head. Naruto. Ino, Sakura, and Tenten thought in worry. This is going to be troublesome. Next to the blonde genin, Shikamaru also couldn't help looking up. But I wonder what he want to do. He thought. Excuse me? Ibiki asked, scowling. Would you care to repeat that? I said that you should stop here now, Mr. Scarface. Naruto said with a sigh, and some proctors chuckled at the nickname. Look, do you really have to repeat that question for about, let's see, 30 times? Your mind game trick is brilliant, I admit, but if you just repeat what you are doing again and again and again, it will just be more annoying than scary, you know? We're still here, which means that we won't leave this room. Just give us the final question. He stated. Ibiki walked towards him. Are you sure? This choice is important. It may impact on your whole life. Think carefully. He warned with a sadistic grin. In response, Naruto also smirked. Of course, I already know about your little trick, but even if it wasn't that, who cares? We're shinobis. We have a job that could kill us at any given time. Do you really think we have the time to worry about not being promoted ever? Besides, at this he leaned in. His voice was barely above a whisper, but it still managed to get everyone in the room. Genin forever? I would really like to see you baking up those words of yours. I see nothing but an empty treat. After that, both the blonde-haired shinobi and the fearsome special jounin just stood there. It was only after a few minutes that Ibiki released another chuckle. Is that what you all think? You're still in time to quit, but that won't last forever, he said, expecting someone to raise their hands and leave, but he got nothing. Besides, he spotted the look of admiration and awe that many genins were giving the boy. He mentally sighed. There was no more use in keeping the farce up. That genin kid had given confidence to every remaining genin in the room. 78. That's more than I expected. Finally, he looked over to the other Chunin examiners, who all nodded at him, a slight smile on their lips. Impressive determination, brat, Ibiki said. Then, for this first exam, everyone who is here. The man allowed himself to smirk as he had wanted to for the last few minutes. Passes. It took everything he had not to laugh at the look of shock he received. Except the earlier genin, he was simply giggling softly. So he really knew? Ibiki looked at him with a smirk. In the mindscape, Kurama and Ashura blinked a couple of times as they heard that declaration. Well then, that was anticlimactic. The man commented. What? Wait a minute, Sakura asked, confused. What about the 10th question? Ibiki did give a sincere laugh at this, incapable to hold it in anymore. There was no such thing, but you can call the two choices I gave you the 10th question. Do you stay and take a chance, or walk away and hope for a better time? Then why did you ask the first 9 questions? Temari protested. It was pointless. It was not. They served their purpose. Ibiki crossed his arms. This was a test to gauge your information-gathering skills. The questions couldn't be answered by an ordinary genin. You had to cheat, hence why if you were caught once you didn't fail but simply lost points. Of course, if your cheating was really too obvious or you screwed up too many times, you would have been failed anyway. Why? His hands went to the knot that held his bandana in place and began to untie it. Because those that cheat poorly fail, of course, he declared as he then removed his bandana. Many genin gaped. Torture, was the whisper among them. Geez, not even that idiot Hashirama had anything like that. Even with his healing abilities. Never gained wounds that bad after fighting me and Uchiha fucking Madoka. Kurama admitted at the sight. Nor our own old man when he was young. Ashura said, looking at Ibiki's scars. I wonder what this man went through. But whatever it is, he is a true warrior. Everyone let out a loud gasp of shock and fear at what they saw was that Ibiki's head had massive scars of different styles. His head had massive burns, hole-like scars, gashes and more. Because, at times information is more important than life, and on missions and the battlefield, people risk their lives to get their hands on it. Ibiki declared with a dead serious tone. I knew he's not a mere jounin. Naruto thought, Marino Ibiki. I think I've heard his name somewhere before. That must have hurt like hell. Sasuke thought in a slightly fear. But if comparing to what he went through, they will be nothing. She whispered bitterly as she recalled something that she wanted to forget it, but she couldn't without let anybody hear it and bit her lip. Unknown to the Uchiha girl, a certain person heard her words and he had a hint of sadness in his eyes. Ibiki then placed his bandana back on to cover his head. If the enemy or a third party notices you, there is no guarantee the info will be accurate. He began to explain as he narrowed his eyes and stare at everyone with sharp eyes while he was tying his bandana. I want you to remember this. Important information in your hands can be a powerful weapon for your comrades and for your village. So we had you gathered information through cheating. This clearly separated those that did not have the right abilities. He concluded, Temari had a face that somewhat understood but still had doubts. But I don't understand the final question. She got out. It was the main point of this test. The question placed you in front of a very painful choice. Let me explain with an example. Ibiki said, let's assume you have been given the mission to steal some important information from an enemy fortress. The numbers of enemies, their abilities and weapons are unknown. There may be traps. Your life and that of your teammates could easily be in danger. Do you take the mission or not? Silence. You do. To become a Chunin, a squad commander, you must show you have the guts to risk everything and the ability to face unknown dangerous mission, all the way caring about your comrades' well-being, even if it costs you. Ibiki solemnly said, those of you who don't have the determination or courage to bet everything, because there may be another future chance, have no right to become Chunin. That's what I believe. But you are here, so you have proved you are worthy. Congratulations. He smiled sincerely. I wish you luck for the rest of the exams. Yes. Naruto cheered as he pumped a fist. One down. He then added in excitement while Sasuke smirked in satisfaction. There's still more to go for this. Shino thought to himself. This blonde kid is an interesting one. Ibiki thought in amusement. But it won't be no wonder if my presumption is right. He looked at Naruto appraisingly. Suddenly, the Jounin felt something coming from his right at fast speeds. A big black ball shot through the window. Then from inside, for kunais that were attached to each corner of the large banner spread as it completely covered Ibiki, introducing the next proctor, which was someone our favorite trio knew so well. All right, brats. A female voice suddenly began. This is no time to be celebrating. She then added. One was a board that said, Sexy and Incredible Mitarashi Anko. My name is Mitarashi Anko, and I am the proctor for the second stage of the exam. She revealed while grinning and gave them all a thumbs up. Nobody moved and many looked at her like she was crazy. Great, another weirdo of the exam. Sasuke thought, appraising the strange choice of outfit of the woman. A gray fishnet shirt, a mini shirt and a long beige trench coat. I wonder if out there exists a powerful ninja who is normal. Probably not. Anko, can't you read the mood? Ibiki soon questioned as he peeked from around the banner. The woman blushed slightly before looking around. 78? She asked, her embarrassment disappearing. Ibiki, you let 26 teams pass? You are getting soft. There are some excellent candidates this year. Oh well, she said, shrugging. I'm going to make more than half of them fail in the next exam. That provoked some nervous looks and whispers from the examinees. Ah, good. She nodded in approval, grinning sadistically. I can smell your fear. I'm getting exited. I'll explain the second exam to all of you once we arrive at the new testing grounds. So, everyone, follow me. Naruto sighed when he and his teammates followed others to leave the room. He looked around and observed that all genin teams, his eyes stopped at a grass team. No problem with two of them, but the third one. That was a woman who had long, smooth black hair, was wearing a straw hat on her head. There is something off in that genin. Ashura commented, carefully observing the Kusa Kunoichi. No, she isn't a genin, he established with certainty. Yeah, she tries to mask it, but I can feel a large amount of chakra from her, and they're dark and evil. Naruto said he didn't let the kunoichi out of his sight. Just try to keep your distance and beware of her. Kurama stated with a firm tone. After everyone had left, Ibiki began to gather the test sheets from around the room, but stopped when he got to a certain sheet. He was startled for a moment before he chuckled. All the answers are completely correct, and he even didn't cheat. He stated with amusement. I guess I'm not wrong this time. His eyes narrowed when he lifted the paper up. He didn't notice it before, but right below the box for the 9th question now lay a small picture of a mole hidden under a helmet. The mind of Ibiki didn't need more than 1 minute to figure out the connection. He would need to speak to the Hokage about this. 44th training ground, the Forest of Death. All of the genin who had passed Ibiki's test the day before now stood outside a large forest with gates surrounding it. They were in front of a very high metallic fence, covered with warning signs that promised death and pain to those fool enough to enter. Some high trees with gigantic roots could be glimpsed behind the protections, and a very grim aura came from the place. It was not the ideal place for a picnic, that's for sure. Welcome, kids, to training grounds number 44. Anko started saying, also known as the Forest of Death. She smirked, hearing several shocked and scared gasps. I'm sure you will all experience why it was given this nickname very soon. This place is really creepy. Sakura muttered fearfully. Bah! Anko taunted with a scoff, causing most of the genin to look at her. You'll soon find out why it's called the Forest of Death, she stated with a sadistic smirk, causing most of the genin to also gulp in fear. An other sadist? Naruto mumbled with a sweat drop. That's right, brat. A kunai launched at the blonde-head boy and whisked past his cheek. Then, a cold finger brushed against his right cheek, and a warm breath breezed across his ear. You know, it's handsome guys like you that spill that delicious blood I love so much all over the forest's ground. Anko grinned. She whispered evilly and licked his bleeding cheek. Naruto gulped in fear. Kami-sama? What is the kind of blood-thirsty kunoichi? Am I cursed with insane women? In his mindscape, Ashura was cringing with fear while Kurama was laughing his ass off. I like this woman. Wahahahahaha. The fox commented between his laugh. Because you're also a sadist, you old fox. The brown-haired man remarked. Everyone around Naruto and the proctor was watching them in horror and wonderment. There, of course, was no shortage of angry and envy looks for the blonde boy, who didn't want to be close to an attractive lady like Anko. Some girls looked enviously at her body while others looked uninterested, and there was a person who was surely the most unhappy in this case. Well, what do you think you're doing? Get off him right now. Sasuke yelled in anger. An accusing finger pointed straight at Anko. What the hell was this woman thinking? Why was she so close to Naruto? Well, I don't wanna. Anko whined towards Sasuke. She had a devilish grin. Or maybe you would like to take my place here. She reinforced that statement by hugging Naruto even more tightly and licked his cheek again, making the Uchiha's Sharingan activate, 3 tomes spinning furiously in her irises. Sasuke was having a hard time to hold back pouncing on the woman. Suddenly, Anko stopped her blood-sucking when she felt a presence behind her and drew another kunai, turning to see a strange woman with a straw hat and an overly long tongue with her kunai being held in said tongue. Here's your kunai, Proctor-san. The woman spoke in an eerie yet perfectly understandable voice, despite having her tongue sticking out. Why, thank you. Anko smiled as she took the kunai and put it away in her pouch. But next time I would recommend not sneaking up on me like that. Unless of course you have a death wish. I apologize. I just get excited at the sight of blood. And your kunai cut my precious hair so I couldn't help myself. The Kusagakure kunoichi licked her lips. Naruto narrowed his eyes. That Kusa kunoichi. I have to be careful around her. Well, it looks like we've got a bloodthirsty bunch this year, Anko said, turning her attention to Naruto. You should be even more alert, brat, or... She leaned down. Someone can catch your tail and you will die. She whispered into his ear, then turned to genin teams. Naruto sighed of relief when he got away from the woman's claws, but he then had to try not to look his female teammate whose glare was burning a hole into his head. Shino just shook his head, and jealous Uchiha Sasuke became an usual thing that nearly happened every day. All right, listen up, brats. Anko then suddenly yelled out to the remaining genin, instantly getting everyone's attention. As I stated, this is known as the Forest of Death. Around the perimeter is 44 locked gates. Inside there is, as stated, a forest, but there is also a river as well as a tower in the center. That tower is where you'll need to get to in order to pass the second stage, she explained as she looked at the genin. However, you can't show up empty-handed, she then added. Muttering was soon going around among some of the genin as they were confused at what the proctor meant. During the survival in here, you will be asked to complete the certain task. Using your many weapons and jutsu, you will compete in a... Anko began as then took out 2 scrolls, one in each hand, one white and one black. A no-rules battle for a scroll, she concluded with a serious tone. So it's something similar to a long mission, Naruto thought. Troublesome. Shikamaru grumbled out in annoyance to the thought. This'll be interesting. Kiba smirked confidently. That's right, you will fight over these two scrolls, the White Heaven Scroll and the Black Earth Scroll. Anko answered what most were thinking. There are 78 people here, meaning 26 teams. She began to hint what was to come. Half or 13 teams will get the Heaven Scroll and the other 13 will get the Earth Scroll. To pass the test is really simple. She stated with a happy expression before it turned into a sadistic one. Your team must make it to the tower with both scrolls. She concluded with a wide smirk in her face. But since this is survival and we can fight each other, not exactly 13 teams will get a scroll. Sasuke stated in a serious matter. Also, Anko suddenly called out to gain the genin's attention once more. There will be a time limit. The second test will have a 120 hours time limit, which is exactly 5 days. She added, 5 days? Ino exclaimed to the mere thought. What about food? Chuji then asked in a fear-filled tone. You're on your own. After all, you are shinobi. Deal with it. There's enough food in there, you just gotta look around. However, Naruto then started. There are other threats within the forest as well as the other teams. Way to be a killjoy. Anko whined with a small pout. But he's right, in this area there will be a lot of things you'll have to be on the watch for man-eating beasts, poisonous insects/plants, not to mention the rest of the 13 teams out for both your scrolls and your blood, so having all of your team in more or less in one piece and getting to the tower before the time limit. I seriously doubt you all will get much sleep at the fear of getting your throat slit. She informed then with a carefree tone and attitude. How the hell can she be so calm about this? Ino thought in a panic and a pale face. So basically everyone can go wild in their Kiba then stated with a smirk. Kiba-kun. Next to him, Hinata couldn't help feeling nervous. Great. This is really going to be troublesome. Shikamaru once more groaned in annoyance. Food. Chuji groaned out at the thought while holding his stomach. It can't be worse than Gai-sensei's training. Tenten meanwhile thought as she shivered at remembering her usual daily training. Now then, Anko stated as she ignored the disheartening faces of the genin. I will tell you what will disqualify you. She informed them as she raised one finger. The first one is, if a team doesn't make it to the tower with both scrolls within the time limit. She began as she then raised another finger. Second, those who lose or get a single teammate killed. She continued, as a mandatory rule, there will be no quitting in once you start this test. You will be in the forest for 5 days. And one more rule. You must not look inside the scroll until you make it to the tower. She concluded. What happens if it accidentally opens? Kiba then asked. Oh, that's a surprise for those actually trying it. Anko simply replied with evil grin. After all, a chunin will be asked to handle classified information. This will also be to test your trustworthiness. She explained with a serious tone as her eyes widened at remembering something. One last thing I have to hand out before we can even start the test. She then pulled out a pile of papers. What are those? Niji asked in a serious voice. As if was waiting for the question, Anko smirked happily. Just some agreement forms, like I clearly explain, there will be death in the part of the test so that Konoha don't have to take responsibility for whatever happens to you in the forest. And more specifically and importantly, so that I don't take any responsibility in case any of you died in there. She jokingly explained with a happy tone. Most of the genin paled at this, as their brains finally fully assimilated just how dangerous and life-threatening the next test will be. It was not time to joke anymore. Yep, she's really a sadistic maniac. Naruto thought with a sweat drop. However, I can't deny what she is saying. In fact, I heard about genin dying in the Chunin exam. This time is surely no exception. As they started to sign the papers, Anko showed them a small map of the training area. It was a circular, enormous forest, surrounded by high fences, that was crossed by a river. A tower stood in the center, 10 kilometers from the entrance's gates. Soon enough, all the teams finally reached their gates as Anko's wristwatch began ticking as they waited for them to open, so that they could let all of them into the forest. Soon the watch finally got to 2:30 on the spot. All right, you maggots. The second test of the Chunin exam begins now. She roared her declaration. No sooner the proctor declared this, All the gates open at once as every single genin teams rushed in by land and through the trees. Their handler unlocked the gate and allowed Team 7 to rush into the forest of death. They planned to get as much distance from the starting point as possible before stopping to discuss. Sasuke watched as Naruto and Shino leaped from branch to branch, not missing a step. She opted to run through the bushes and leaped over a downed tree trunk, now a rotting corpse on the ground. All around the forest was impossibly dark, with no light to shine on the surface. It gave the entire area an ominous feel, as if an opponent could be anywhere, watching them and waiting for the right moment to strike. Having been given a Heaven Scroll and were instructed to seek out a team with the corresponding Earth Scroll, it didn't take long for them to realize this was not only a battle of survival, but a battle between the genin. There was no way to tell for sure if another team had the scroll without seeing it firsthand, and they could not afford to battle every squad they came across. Our only chance is to get the drop on an unsuspecting group and get lucky enough that they have what we need. The longer we stay in this forest. Bugs chattered and loud growls of a beast could be heard, shaking the Uchiha's concentration. The more danger we will be in. We should stop here. Shino shouted from above and landed. Sasuke remained in her tree for a moment longer to survey the area and make sure it was the right decision. With a shrug, she too landed on the forest floor and noticed Shino was often reaching into his coat pocket to ensure the scroll remained safe. Stop that, Shino, or else you will give away. You are the one with the scroll. The bug user stopped his hand in mid-stride and nodded, berating himself for showing such a tick. It seemed even he had some anxiety going into this exam, as none of them had faced anything like it before. All right, we're here now. What's the plan? Sasuke asked seriously. First, we need to acclimatize ourselves to this terrain and get used to hiding among the shadows. Then we use bugs to find another squad and… Well, you explain, Shino. Naruto said. My bugs feed off chakra and are adept at seeking it out. Acting as our eyes, they will guide us to the nearest squad and subtly begin to eat their chakra, weakening them for when we arrive. With the element of surprise, we should have little trouble handling most in our way. He explained while releasing a few Kikaichu from his sleeves. They watched as the bugs scattered in all directions to begin searching out chakra signatures for them to follow up later. Sasuke nodded and smiled, satisfied with the plan. Although she regretted her Sharingan couldn't be more useful in the initial stage, and she didn't want to risk her Manjikyu Sharingan after the warning from her mother and sister, as the Aburam's bugs, she knew it would be her and Naruto that would pull the weight when they entered battle. However, before suggesting they get started, Naruto suddenly cringed and held his stomach. He had to go to the bathroom. Hey guys, I'll be right back. I need to go take a leak. It took a moment to register with Sasuke before her face blushed in anger, and she hit him over the head. You idiot! Can't you use more polite terms in the presence of a lady? Sorry. I will just be a moment. Naruto apologized with a nervous smile. HN. Sasuke looked away, crossing her arms. Shino just shook his head as he looked Naruto running off. He had his moments of brilliance, but sometimes he could be quite crude. It was some time later that they found themselves still waiting for his return. Sasuke didn't want to admit it, but while at first she was annoyed, it was now worry that covered her features. She knew Naruto was strong, but everything could happen, and the idea of a badly injured Naruto hurt her so much. Keeping calm, the Aburame present listened to the chatter of insects in the forest, attempting to gather further information. It was then that a few of his insects indicated they had attached to a human chakra signature, and it was close. That's impossible. The only one that should be close is Naruto, and I specifically made my bugs digest their chakra to ensure they would not get confused. Alarmed, Shino awoke from his trance and oriented his head in the direction the sounds were coming from. Noticing something was wrong, his teammate looked at him and then in the same direction, unable to piece the dots together as he did. Sasuke, trouble! He took off in a dash as the surprised Uchiha stumbled and began to follow. What's the matter all of a sudden? She shouted. Someone other than Naruto is close by. I think he may be Dash. Before he could finish his sentence, a great amount of heat could be felt and their peripheral vision showed an orange projectile headed their way. With little time to spare, they backed out of the way of Naruto's attack as he revealed himself on a nearby tree branch, fighting in close combat with an Amigakure ninja. Wind style, air bullets jutsu, flying through hand signs as he dodged a punch from the opposing shinobi. Naruto launched dozens of bullets of air at his enemy. This forced the Amigakure ninja named Oboro to backflip away from the blonde whom he had been trying to subdue for some time now. Weaving in and out of the dangerous projectiles, he sensed new presences below and saw the rest of Team 7 approaching. "Looks like it isn't your lucky day today," Naruto said with a grin. "Damn, I took too long. I can't handle all of these guys." Oboro thought with annoyance. "Get away from him!" Sasuke launched into the air while going through hand signs, forcing the enemy's attention her way. Gathering up air in her lungs, she fired a large hot flame from her mouth in an attempt to destroy the opposition. Fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. The fires forced Oboro off the branch, searing his left arm and leaving black soot all along his side. He clutched his arm in pain and watched as the Uchiha united on the branch and pursued him to the ground. Rolling away, he began going through hand signs as he needed a distraction to get away. Earth style, Mud Wall Jutsu. A wall of mud separated the fighters as it quickly solidified into a tough, rocky substance. As they attempted to climb over it, Oboro began to retreat until he was forced to stop. Their other teammates stood in his way. With his hands in his pockets and with what appeared to be little interest in the aim ninja, Shino was both frightening and yet gave off no threatening notion or killing intent. "Out of my way!" Oboro launched forward and punched Shino, who dodged underneath the attack by bending his knees. With a smirk, the aim ninja launched a kick at the low Konoha shinobi only to watch him dodge by leaping into the air. Unable to react in time, Shino kicked Oboro in the face while in midair, sending him into a nearby tree. The siblings arrived in time to watch the Aburam's trap spring as bugs charged from all directions and began to swarm over the body of the shinobi of the Hidden Rain village. "Ah!" He screamed in terror, unable to escape the insects. Knowing it would only be a matter of seconds before his chakra was drained, Shino was content to stand back and watch his insects work. He became unsettled as Oboro's outline began to deteriorate underneath the swarm and ordered the bug off of him. They watched as his body melted into mud. Apparently he had enough chakra to use the jutsu to escape. "He got away," Naruto said, crossing his arms. "Damn it! I was going to make that bastard pay." Sasuke growled, clenching her fist. Shino remained quiet, thankful his teammates did not blame him. Although his family would hate to admit it, there was no 100% way to capture an opponent even after ensnaring them with insects. A resourceful one could use a jutsu to escape or somehow get the bugs off their person. Still, he was not aware there would be such skilled combatants in the exam. He would have to be even more careful the next time he used that technique. "We made quite a ruckus. We should move before more squads show up." Agreeing with Shino's words, the three began to move when a loud howl came from a far-off area, forcing them to turn in its direction. Seeing a projectile headed for him, Naruto quickly brought up a hand and caught the small pebble inches from his eye. Confused, he scrunched his eyebrows and again looked in that direction. The howl only got louder and they were able to identify it as the familiar howl of a strong wind, but it was unnatural. "What is this?" Shino began to feel the wind pushing at him and dug his heels into the ground, leaning forward. "It isn't natural, we need to dash." Before Sasuke could warn them further, the attack hit their position and sent them flying back. She found herself flying through the air in some sort of whirlwind. Desperately, she oriented her body and properly landed on a tree, her feet planted with chakra. Staying in a low crouch, she held up an arm to shield her eyes from dirt and tried to make out her teammates in the chaos. Shino ordered his insects to retreat from the area as they were being flung all over the place. Sasuke was right, the attack wasn't a natural occurrence. His bugs could sense the chakra and at first tried desperately to halt it to no avail. Whoever was attacking them was extremely powerful with futon techniques. He was able to safely land on a tree branch and saw Naruto go flying without anything to grab onto. "Naruto!" He heard the Uchiha shouted in vain to get her partner's attention, only for the blonde to be flung farther into the forest, separating them. "This isn't good," Shino mentally remarked as he was looking around in caution. As the wind died down, the remaining teammates were able to regroup with one another. Shino then found himself in an attempt to calm the stressed Uchiha girl. "We need to go get him. He might be hurt. I doubt the brat survived," a cold, slithering voice said from behind her. She and Shino both whirled to see a strange Kusa ninja. Just the sight of her gave 2 genin the chills. I finally found you. I was starting to think I would never get the chance to face the infamous Uchiha. She laughed, a sinister sound that echoed in their eardrums. I hope I can have more fun than I expected. She suddenly reached behind her back and pulled out the scroll of earth and asked them if they wanted it before wrapping his tongue around it and swallowing it whole in one smooth go. Now, let's begin. She licked his lips. The fight for our scrolls. Sasuke and Shino stiffened with surprised expressions. The man looked up and his eye suddenly resembled a snake's. By putting our lives on the line. Suddenly, an intense killing aura surrounded the 2 genins as her bloodlust reached their senses. It was so intense that Sasuke and Shino could practically see and feel the ways she wanted to kill them. Visions of blood filled their minds and they shakily dropped to the ground. They were panting for breath out of fright and exhaustion that suddenly overtook their bodies. Shino didn't dare to look up or move from his spot. Sasuke couldn't stop the vomiting that overwhelmed her as she doubled over and lost her light breakfast from that morning. The woman just watched them as the Uchiha tried to get back up to her feet but only fell back on her backside. Her body was paralyzed. Who is she? She looked over to Shino to see that he was sweating and shaking a little. This isn't good. We need to run. Sasuke barely got to her feet with a kunai in hand, only to freeze up again when the woman spoke up again. What are you going to do with that? She couldn't move, even as the creeper walked towards them. Relax. I will end it in a flash. You don't have to suffer. She stopped a few feet away, raising a hand with 2 kunai, ready to throw it at the paralyzed children. I wanted to have more fun, but I'm disappointed now, she said as she casually threw the kunai. Blood fell to the ground and the woman looked at the spot the dark-haired girl had been previously, impressed despite herself. To break the paralysis by stabbing her own thigh with a kunai. That took guts, and she managed to move away in time, even bringing her teammate with her. Anko threw another skewer into the tree across from her. The pattern formed a familiar face. Anko would stare at the pattern before littering it with shuriken. Anko seemed to smile at that. No sooner she said this, a smoke suddenly appeared near her. Big trouble, Anko-sama, a shinobi announced. This in turn got Anko's attention. What happened? She asked. We found bodies. 3 of them, the shinobi quickly reported. What's there to worry about that? There was bound to be in this test. Anko stated with a confused tone. No, they were found outside of the forest and they were dead before the second test even began. The shinobi reported. But that's not the only thing, the bodies were strange. He then added, anyways, please come. He soon requested. Strange? Besides being dead. Anko thought to herself, but she still nodded all the same and both disappeared in a smoke. A few moments later Anko had arrived to the scene where the bodies were located. After examining their papers and personal items, one of the shinobi began to explain. They seemed to be the hidden grass shinobis who were entered in this exam, but he reported as he let the purple-haired jounin examine the bodies. Anko's face, however, was in total shock at seeing this. Shit, she muttered out. They have no faces. They were completely cut off. No more like they were melted off. He concluded, there's no mistaking it. This jutsu is his. Anko soon thought to herself with fear and with narrow eyes. Why is he in this exam? She then questioned in her head in a panicked manner. Anko then quickly turned to the other shinobi. Show me the pictures of these 3, she ordered. Yes, ma'am. Another shinobi stated as he did as what he was told, handing the photos to the jounin immediately. Upon seeing the picture, Anko instantly recognized the faces. He stole this face. So that time, she thought as she remembered seeing this face at the gathering. You guys, report this to the Hokage-sama immediately, she ordered with a hint of panic in her voice. Ha! They got out in confusing. Send some umbu to the forest of death. I'm going after them right now. No sooner she said this, Anko rushed directly at the forest and find the intruders. Naruto lay battered at the base of one of the forest's giant trees. He couldn't believe he'd been so careless. He hadn't even set a few clones as guards before stopping. Now he had no idea where he was, where his team was, and had no clue what had hit him. Well, I get the feeling that this is going to be a bad day, he said to himself, stumbling to his feet. As he lifted his head, his jaw dropped as he saw what had to be a giant snake. I should have known. Naruto looked up the snake. A summon, and it's a big bad snake. What the hell is he doing here now? The snake was a dull greenish-brown with golden eyes. It was at least 40 feet long and was eyeing Naruto like he was a particularly juicy mouse. In the flash of an eye, the monstrous serpent struck at him. The blonde barely had time to dodge, and the shock wave from the snake's strike threw him back. It followed up by trying to snare him with its tail, but Naruto managed to leap over the serpent's tail. If that's how you want to play Mr. Giant Snake, fine, Naruto shouted. The beast growled in anger but kept itself in reserve. Fire style, great fireball jutsu. Taking a deep breath, the boy bent his head back and launched the big fireball forward to engulf the creature. Sasuke sat against the bark of a thick tree, panting from pain, exhaustion, and the remains of fear as she recovered from dragging both herself and Shino out of the way of the kunai at the last moment. Her thigh throbbed with pain where her own kunai was still piercing flesh and muscle. The Uchiha had used the crudest but most effective and fastest way of getting rid of paralysis, but this was going to cost her. Are you all right, Sasuke? Shino, who calmed down now, asked in a worried voice. I'm fine, she answered agonizingly. Damn. Now she couldn't even sense the chakra of their enemy. Watch out, Shino suddenly shouted. Sharingan eyes looked to the side just as said giant snake sprang to attack. They barely dodged in time, but they also got separated as the serpent bit into the thick bark of the tree. I was so upset that I didn't even notice the presence of a snake, the young Uchiha thought as the snake wound around a tree and rushed towards her and Shino while they were still in the air. They couldn't dodge out of the way like this. Then that woman used some genjutsu or something, because Sasuke swore she saw her face just behind the snake's head. Looking at her with those cold eyes of her, and the raven-haired girl took out some shuriken and hurled them at the snake, hitting it dead on, and the giant snake reared back before falling against a tree and staying there, dead. Sasuke and Shino landed on a branch and watched in horror as the snake's skin broke at the neck and out came their enemy. Your eyes match that of prey. Good. To survive, you can never look away from the predator, the woman said in such a creepy way. She suddenly sprang towards her, her body becoming snake-like as she wrapped herself around a tree and rushed towards Sasuke. Sasuke flinched back as the kunoichi continued towards her, only to be stopped when some shuriken and a few kunai embedded themselves into the tree, and she had to stop unless she wanted the weapons to puncture her head. The fake Kusa kunoichi scowled as she had hoped her pet would have kept that brat out of the way longer. Even killing him wouldn't have been out of the question. That annoying brat, she cursed a certain blonde man in her breath. Looks like I made it just in time. Standing on a large branch and arms crossed, Naruto said with a defiant smile spread across his lips. Because you're here. Look like you took care of my pet Naruto-kun. The woman said, licking her lips. You're so free that you want to test your power on 3 rookie genin? I'm wondering if you're really Orochimaru the Snake Sannin. Naruto said, glaring at the grass ninja, now Orochimaru. It wasn't difficult to realize the giant snake had just attacked him. It's the servant of Manda, the boss summon of the snakes of the Ryuchi cave, and Orochimaru was Manda's summoner. Be careful, Naruto. He's a very powerful enemy, Ashura warned in his head. I know Ashura. He is one of 3 famous Sannin after all. Naruto replied calmly. One of students of that old Hokage, Kurama said with a growl. He should have killed him long time ago. Naruto didn't reply. He knew the fox wasn't really wrong, but to think again carefully, the Sandaime had his own unique affliction to endure. He was a kind and genial man, and from what he heard from Kakashi, Orochimaru was his most favorited student. Therefore, the blonde didn't think he could kill him without hesitation. Whatever, now Orochimaru was the enemy. It was impossible to run away at this time, so he had no choice but fighting against him. Meanwhile, Shino caught up and quickly read the situation, glad to see his third teammate had arrived when he did. Free from fear, he began to position his bugs and launched them at Orochimaru, forcing him to leap from branch to escape. It bought them some time for Naruto to pick up Sasuke and get her away from the fight for a moment. Calm down, Sasuke. Everything will be all right. He assured her with a smile, something she could not return. Nah, Naruto. We need to get out of here. He's too strong. She grabbed his shirt, shaking him in an attempt to get him to listen. I know. The blonde-haired shinobi looked over his shoulder and saw Shino struggling to control his bugs fast enough to keep up with the snake Sannin. After all, he is not a normal ninja. He loosened her grip and rushes at Orochimaru. Orochimaru chuckled. Kukuku, a very interesting boy. I'll just kill you first, then. He drew a sword, and with a quick movement he stabbed Naruto in the stomach, and the boy exploded violently. Oh yeah! The real one popped out from the ground nearby, pumping his fist to the sky. A direct hit. Thank you, Kakashi-sensei. Did you just blow that man up? Sasuke gaped from a branch nearby. Naruto shook his head. Nah, he is Orochimaru of the Sannin. He's not down yet. Sasuke and Shino widened their eyes. They were facing one of the legendary Sannin, Orochimaru the Snake Sannin. The real Orochimaru emerged from the ground nearby. Not bad, Naruto-kun. He chuckled menacingly. But no matter. Because I'm here for Sasuke-chan over there. Kukuku. What the heck is that creepy guy? Ashura yelled in horror and disgust. Okay. I saw this Orochimaru guy many times when I was in my previous jailer. I know he has something unusual and crazy in his mind. But at this point, Kurama said with deadpan face. Naruto made a face. So Orochimaru of the Sannin is a pedophile who lusts after 12-year-old little girls? That's just gross. I'm not a pedophile, Orochimaru protested. I just want her body. That is even more disgusting. Shino commented. You. Sasuke said tremblingly. Her bangs covered her eyes. There's no way I'm letting such a disgusting person as you go anywhere near my body. She snapped and lifted her face with her look full of fury. The last thing she needed was some kind of pervert going after her. Well, so you three could join the party. Maybe this will be entertaining. Kuku. Orochimaru chuckled. Hidden shadow snake hands. A dozen of snakes came out from his sleeves, biting and hissing around. Damn it! Naruto and two teammates jumped back. He took a chakra knife out of his pouch and used chakra flow to enhance it, using it to try and surprise Orochimaru. He smirked when one of his wind blades hit the man, severely hurting him. Next to him, Sasuke and Shino couldn't help to be surprised with his abilities. He is strong. The Uchiha thought in awe. That's the reason why Kakashi-sensei said that he was one of strongest genin. Shino thought amusingly. Very good, brat. Orochimaru smirked. I suppose I have to kill you before you become too much of a nuisance. Then, somehow, his neck rushed forward, lengthening it in a very inhumanly way. Shit! Naruto exclaimed, leaping back. It was not used because Orochimaru simply bended further his neck. The disguised genin decided to try and attack as a defense. Wind style, wind kanai jutsu, and he shot out several blades of wind. Orochimaru chuckled easily avoiding the jutsu. Interesting. You are indeed adept at using wind, are you not? Fire style, phoenix flower jutsu. Sasuke screamed after flashing hand seals. Her eyes were red from her swirling Sharingan, but she could not match the Sannin's speed. The small fireball all missed, as did the shurikens she hid in them. Good fight, Sasuke-chan. If that was some useless worms, it will be very deadly. Orochimaru mocked. How nice of you. I wonder, who should I choose after all? He looked at Sasuke and Naruto. Because Kyuubi is very powerful too, I suppose that will be both of you. Naruto widened his eyes. Move, Sasuke, he exclaimed. Oh no, you can't. Paralysis jutsu. Orochimaru called out, making Sasuke freeze in her tracks. He made another strange hand seal and suddenly his neck extended really fast. Shino and Sasuke flinched back as it sped towards them, only for the Uchiha to cry out when the man's head stopped at her shoulder, his teeth sinking into the flesh of her neck like snake fangs and drawing blood. After a few moments, Orochimaru let go and withdrew his head. Right beside the bite mark, A seal in the shape of 3 inwards turned tomos, placed in a triangle-like formation, appeared in black ink. And as soon as it appeared, a searing pain went through Sasuke's entire body, as if it were feeding on her chakra, making the Sharingan fade away again, before falling back with a heavy thump as darkness took her. You will come to me for power, Sasuke-chan. It is impossible to escape from your destiny. Sasuke! Shino knelt down to check her pulse after she collapsed, fearing the worst. Orochimaru chuckled. Kukuku. Now it's your turn, Naruto-kun. He turned to Naruto. Naruto made to leap, but found he was bound by snakes that had shot out from the ground. When did he? He focused on wind chakra to get rid of them, but once he was free it was too late. The bastard was almost over him. Earth style, mud wall jutsu. Orochimaru stopped his sprint just in time to avoid collision with the small shield of earth that suddenly grew in front of Naruto. Oh, even adhering. How delightful. Kukuku. Shino, who just did the jutsu that he copied from the Rain Shinobi, was next to Naruto and was panting. He is just playing us. He is too strong. He thought worriedly. At that time, a whole battalion of ANBU flickered into the clearing. Orochimaru. By the order of the Hokage, you are under arrest. Damn! Orochimaru hissed. You're lucky, brats. He dissolved in the ground and ran away. ANBUs were basically cannon fodders, but a whole battalion of them was not something to underestimate. The clearing grew quite once Orochimaru and ANBU team had fully disappeared. Naruto and Shino immediately ran to Sasuke quickly. Small sigh of relief came over them after realizing she was only unconscious. What are we doing now, Naruto? Shino spoke out and he turned his male teammate. At first, we have to find a safe place to nurse Sasuke back to health, and then I want to see what Orochimaru did to her. I have a bad feeling, the blonde said concernedly. Shino nodded his head and Naruto gathered the Uchiha girl into his arms, carrying her on his back and started leaped from branch to branch with the adhering next to him. Naruto washed Sasuke's face as she started sweating again, the Uchiha's ragged breathing. Damn it! If only I was quicker than at that time. He gritted his teeth. Sasuke's groan of pain drew his attention back to her. Naruto sighed when he saw that his rag had dried up again. She was so hot that the drenched material kept draining against her skin as if it were placed over a fire. Is she all right? Walking into the cave, Shino asked with a concerned voice. Yeah. She just fell unconscious because she was out of chakra. Naruto stated, wet the cloth and placed it on Sasuke's forehead as she grunted in pain. We have to hide in the cave until the sun is up. It's a bad thing to take Sasuke with us now because of other teams' potential ambushes and nighttime attacks. That is way too risky. He then added. Shino nodded in recognition. I agree. I'm also nearly out of chakra, so I'm not sure I can fight back if we get ambushed, and it will be surely very difficult for you to stand alone. Besides, the Aburame looked straight his teammate. That will give us time to resume plans, he said. What is Orochimaru the Sannin doing here? I have a theory, though I'm not sure, Naruto replied, leaning against the wall and relaxing himself a little. From what I learned, Orochimaru is obsessed with power and immortality. He performed various experiments on his prisoners, some being fellow Konoha shinobi he kidnapped. He used them as human guinea pigs to develop techniques that would grant him immortality, the end result being living corpse reincarnation. Living corpse reincarnation? It's a technique that allows him to transfer his soul to someone else's body. A forbidden one. Orochimaru is always interested in them. Naruto stated firmly, let's get to the business at hand. I heard from some ANBU someone outside the village intruded Konoha to spy and steal information before and in the Chunin exam. You know, when everyone from villages assemble for the exam, it's a good chance to collect more information of shinobis from another nations. He paused a while, then continued. But now I think there are other purposes. The intruder? You mean Orochimaru? Shino asked. Not only him, Naruto said as his expression became grimace. After all, he is one of Sannin and the Sandame's the former student, an infamous S-rank Konohagakure missing ninja. No matter how much he is good at dressing up or impersonation, it's not easy not to be found out by high-experienced jounin and ANBUs. I guess he has just been in Konoha for a few days, he stated firmly. He shows up at the very same time the Chunin exam, especially he knows the second task is the survival test in this forest, an ideal spot to roam free without worrying about being identified, and that means someone spy in the village stole the information of the Chunin exam and provided Orochimaru. Shino said as he leaned against a big rock, "It's just my speculation. Is that Yakushi Kabuto guy?" Naruto smirked at the question. "Look like I'm not the only one." "It's not really difficult," as he acted quite suspiciously. The adhering replied, "But what does a Sannin and his spies want to do in an exam for Genin? And why did he attack us? He is here for this princess." The blonde was silent for a while, then he gazed at his unconscious teammate. Or actually, her Sharingan. Shino also looked at Sasuke. "That reminds me, Orochimaru didn't pay much attention to me. He just kept his eye on Sasuke. Then you. He just pay attention to me after I hurt him. A little. His first and true target is Sasuke." Naruto said firmly. "I see." Shino replied he looked outside the cave. "Do you think ANBU team will catch him?" Naruto shook his head. "I doubt it. Orochimaru isn't in Sannin for nothing, and he used to escape from ANBU teams going with the Hokage when he defected from Konoha." He answered honestly, "I think we should check Sasuke's well-being. I want to check what Orochimaru did to her. I feel something bad happening." He looked at Sasuke worriedly. "I agree. My insects felt some weird chakra from her at that time." And two boys approached the Uchiha girl. Naruto gently picked up Sasuke. He let her head lean against his shoulder and his hand slowly lifted his hair and took a good look at her neck. He and Shino could see the seal that was like a Sharingan on her neck. They also sensed more strange chakra from there. "What is that?" Shino asked while he was still observing the seal. "I don't know," Naruto answered. "It can be a kind of seal. I'm still learning about sealing techniques, so I know a little bit, but I've never seen this." The voice of Kurama suddenly got out. "Touch that seal gently. I will check it out," the fox offered. Naruto followed his order and touched the seal gently. Shino just looked at him, wondered what Naruto was doing. Kurama widened his eyes. "Damn!" he cursed. "It's a very bad thing." He growled in fury. Kurama was a bijou who was a being of chakra, and as such he could feel all sorts of things related to it. He could feel that inside of the Tomode marking had a powerful, vile, and tainted chakra, as it was forcefully entering the girl's body. "Oi! Why do you suddenly get mad? What is that seal?" Naruto asked in a concerned voice. "It isn't a normal one. It's in Juinjutsu, cursed seal techniques," the fox said frankly. "Juinjutsu? What is that?" Naruto confused. Juinjutsu are a type of techniques used to bring someone under the control of the user. By applying a seal to the victim's body, the user brings the victim's abilities and actions under their control. With a simple secret hand seal, the user can inflict great mental and physical torment on the victim. Ashura answered with concern. Naruto widened his eyes. "What the hell? This is the first time I've heard about this kind of techniques." It's hardly surprising, then, that the exact workings of Juinjutsu are kept secret and there are hardly any document about them. What does this have to do with Sasuke? Exactly what Ashura just talked. To bring someone under the control of the user by cursed seals. Kurama said in a firm tone. Those cursed seal, when someone first receives them, recipients cannot control their access to it, and as such they draw on its power unwillingly. Until they become accustomed to it, using of the cursed seal will cause them intense physical pain and even die. Naruto's eyes widened in horror. When the cursed seal is activated, it feeds off the user's chakra and replaces it with the giver's own senjutsu chakra. It will increase their chakra levels about 10 times and making them stronger. So long as they have at least some chakra of their own, this gives them a backup reserve that they can call on. But at the same time, prolonged use of the cursed seal corrodes the mind of users, making them more susceptible to the controller's influence. Naruto added for him. Or in other words, those marks corrupt their minds slowly. He finished, gritting his teeth and clenched his fist. Exactly, the fox replied grimly. Naruto looked at the girl in his hands, or rather the mark on her neck, and had a bad feeling about it. Sasuke was still breathing and had the pulse, which means that she was still alive, but who knew what would happen to the Uchiha girl once the cursed seal was activated. Naruto believed that she wouldn't die for the power of marks though. What concerned the blonde even more than anything was its influence on her mind. Cursed marks corrupted users and increased of negative thoughts and purposes, making them lose all reason and control slowly. Kurama, Ashura, is there anything we can do to remove that mark? I can. However, it will be very reckless and potentially lethal, the fox said in a serious voice. In order to do that, I have to use my chakra to cancel that snake bastard's chakra, completely eliminate his evil influences, and then start removing the seal. The Biju's chakra is extremely powerful. Only Jounin and Kage level shinobis or Jinchuriki are able to endure them, while that Uchiha girl is just about Chunin level. She may die before the cursed seal is completely removed. He stated, "What about you, Ashura? Is there anything you can do?" Ashura shook his head. "I'm afraid it's impossible for us to get rid of the seal because I don't know about Juinjutsu so much and I've never used it. So it's very dangerous for Sasuke if I try to remove the cursed seal," he said firmly. "The best solution at the present I can think of is to seal it, and she won't able to use her chakra or Sharingan, otherwise the seal will be broken immediately." Naruto shook his head. "This way doesn't last long. She will have to use them sooner or later," he said as he still stared at the Uchiha. "We still have the final task, and if you didn't use ninjutsu, you would be surely defeated, and Sasuke is very stubborn, There's no way she allows herself to lose a match she is able to win just because of a weird mark on her neck." He finished with a sigh. The fox groaned in annoyance. "Damn Uchiha and their pride," he grumbled. "Naruto. Hey Naruto, are you hearing me?" Shino's voice took the Uzumaki out of his conversation. The said boy turned around. "Yes, Shino, are you all right, Naruto?" the adhering asked. "You just blinked out for a while. Are you still tired from the battle with Orochimaru?" "I'm fine. More important, I remember what is this mark." Naruto started explaining what Kurama and Ashura had just informed him about cursed seals and their dangers. Of course, he lied the reason why he knew about them, that he used to read it in a book of sealing technique. It was not that the blonde didn't believe in his teammate, but it would be very complicated if someone knew he could talk to the Kyuubi no Kitsune and a man who was supposed to be his ancestor. "I see," Shino said quietly. "It's indeed extremely dangerous. I guess no one but Orochimaru would think of this thing." He then looked up Naruto. "If what you say is true, we have to complete this task quickly and bring Sasuke to Hokage-sama immediately. Often, I will suggest we should ignore this exam and take Sasuke to the Hokage. But our Haim-sama will have our heads if she finds out we quit the exam." Shino couldn't help agreeing with him. "All right, you now stay here with Sasuke and take care of her. I will go to find a team keeping the Earth Scroll and take it. You two just wait here until I come back and don't tell her anything about the cursed seal, at least until we meet Gigi." Anko's serious expression never left her face as she continued racing through the forest via tree branches. She dashed through the forest as fast as she possibly could. Her face was of one of fear and concern. "It's almost nightfall," she thought to herself. "I must find him quickly. Once it gets totally dark, I will be at a further disadvantage." She added. The older Kunoichi narrowed her eyes with anger. "But why is he at a time like this? What is his purpose?" she asked herself once more in confusion. "Well, it makes no difference if you have come to this village. Then we will settle things now." Anko then began to run even faster than before. "You are now a S-rank missing shinobi," she thought to herself as images of a man with a snake appeared in her mind. "I must stop you even if it cost me my life. And if that's not possible," stopping on a tree branch, Anko remained crouching down. "I must slow you down until reinforcements arrives," she said to herself with determination. Then the older Kunoichi began to stand up. "I learned everything from you. I was one of your men, and thus, that is my job, right, Orochimaru?" she declared vocally as she narrowed her eyes. Right behind the very tree branch Anko was standing on, the man in question was somehow fused with the tree trunk as he looked at the woman. "That's not possible," Orochimaru declared with amusement. "First the Kyuubi brat, then annoying ANBUs, and now you." Anko closed her eyes as Orochimaru remained motionless, still melded to the tree. Then the kunoichi jumped as high as possible while taking out a handful of senbons from within her jacket. Before Anko could throw them, however, Orochimaru simply raised his chin as his tongue began to move on the inside of his mouth. Next thing Anko saw was the S-rank criminal actually extended his tongue in an inhuman manner. The tongue had grabbed the hand where Anko had her senbons. This forced Anko to drop them and land to another tree branch. "You won't get away." Hidden shadow snake hands. Anko screamed in her mind as many snakes came out of her jacket while they wrapped and bit on the tongue. Once she had a good hold on his tongue, Anko used every ounce of her strength to pull Orochimaru right off the tree and slam him to the one she was in, leaving a massive cracks on it. However, Orochimaru didn't look fazed as he began to dash towards her and slamming into her to the trunk of the tree. Thinking quickly, Anko used her left hand to grab Orochimaru's right hand and throw him to the bark while taking kunai from her right sleeve. Then, in a manner of sacrificial move, she stabbed the same hand that held Orochimaru's to hold him in place. Anko resisted both the pain and the urge to scream. Then she looked straight at the eyes of Orochimaru's with a smirk on her face. "Hee, caught you," she declared as she then used her right hand to fold his left while making a strange hand seal. "I'm going to borrow your left hand, Orochimaru," she declared. This seal. Orochimaru got out as he instantly recognized the hand seal. Anko could only smirk at this even more. "Yeah. You and me will die," she declared as she closed her eyes to prepare her suicidal jutsu. "Ninja art. Double snake assassination dash," she tried to declare in her mind. However, she soon stopped when she heard an evil chuckle. "Planning to commit suicide?" the voice from Orochimaru declared from a distance away. Anko's eyes widened for a moment from realized what had just happened as she then narrowed them. "A shadow clone, huh?" she then stated in a calm manner. No sooner she said this, the clone dispersed itself as she took the kunai out from her hand. "You are a special jounin of this village," Orochimaru began as he raised his hand and made a single hand sign. "You shouldn't use all those forbidden jutsu I taught you," he concluded. Anko flinched and fell in her to her knees while holding her neck in agony. "Why are you here?" she asked through her pain. "Damn it. This fucking curse mark again," she growled as she held back the pain she was going through. Orochimaru chuckled once more to this. "We haven't seen each other in a while. Yet you're so cold, Anko," he remarked with sarcasm in his voice. In response, Anko scoffed with disrespect. "Bullshit. Have you come to assassinate Hokage-sama?" No, I don't have enough men for that yet," Orochimaru stated while not denying the claim. "I thought I'd recruit some very outstanding ones from this village." Anko was now feeling more pain than before as she was forced to crouch into a ball from the agony. Her hand finally moved her jacket enough and there was the exact same 3-tomoed mark on her neck like the Sasuke's. "I just gave a child one of those curse marks," Orochimaru declared with amusement. "And I was going to put it into one another. But that brat is really annoying, so I had to give up. But it's fine as I had originally one child that I wanted," he added. Anko weakly raised her head while she panted heavily. "How selfish. That kid are going to die then," she stated as she felt bad for whoever it was he had placed the same marks on. Orochimaru hummed a bit to this as he began to think. "I would say that the chance of surviving is 1/10, he stated truthfully. "But, like you, she might not die," he declared. Anko weakly smirked at this. "You must really like them then her," she joked with sarcasm. "Are you jealous?" Orochimaru joked with an amused tone. "Are you upset that I threw you away?" he asked while he chuckled. Suddenly Anko was struck with even more pain than she could handle and was forced to hold the spot where the mark was once more. "Unlike you, she has immensely more talent than you," he stated as he turned once more to Anko. "She carries the Uchiha's bloodline, the youngest daughter of the Uchiha clan head, Uchiha Sasuke, and she will be a perfect vessel to be my successor," Orochimaru said with glee. "If she survives, things could get very interesting." The man then waited for Anko's breathing to become a bit smoother. "So please don't stop this exam prematurely. About 3 from my village are also taking part and I'm really enjoying this," he ordered more so than asked as he slowly began to melt into the tree branch. If you try to end my enjoyment, believe that Konoha is finished, he threatened as he completely vanished. Anko meanwhile balled her hands into fists as she slammed them on the branch she was on. Damn you, Orochimaru, she roared as she struggled to get back up. Somewhere in the forest of death. Damn, I can't believe my luck. They didn't have the right scroll, Naruto exclaimed out of frustration. Now what dash? Before he could finish his sentence, the Jinchuriki heard a scream coming from nearby. Looking at one another, he dashed off in that direction to see what was going on. Upon reaching the area where the scream originated from, he spotted a red-headed girl under attack by a rather large bear. Naruto immediately leapt down and kicked the bear hard in the side of its head right as it was charging towards the glasses-wearing girl. When the bear's neck snapped from the force behind Naruto's kick, he breathed a sigh of relief, but he then was caught off guard when the girl he had just rescued glomped him, hugging him tight. "Thank you. I thought I was a goner for sure. How can I ever repay you?" Blushing a bit, Naruto hugged the girl back and began to gently rub her back to try and soothe her. "You're okay now. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. What's yours?" The girl widened her eyes. "You're an Uzumaki too? No way, your hair isn't red," she exclaimed. Naruto scratched his head. "I don't really know. I'm an orphan. My parents died a long time ago in the Kyuubi attack, so I don't know about them. I just know my name from the Hokage." I see." The girl looked down in shame. "I'm sorry to hear that." Naruto smiled at her. "It's okay. You don't know about it." He then looked at her. "I still don't know your name yet." My name is Uzumaki Karen." The girl, now Karen, answered stammeringly. "Wow, we share the same surname. Anyways, do you feel better?" Karen didn't answer. Instead, she just blinked at him. "Hey, something bugging you?" The girl looked at Naruto and saw that he seemed to be genuinely concerned about her well-being but looked away immediately. "Oh no, nothing, it's fine," she said quickly. "Where is your team?" he questioned out of curiosity. Karen felt a sense of sadness, depression, and anger coursing through her body. She balled her hands into fists and felt the urge to hit something, but didn't want to appear negative in front of her savior. "Oh, those assholes? They abandoned me the moment we stepped into this forest, and half an hour later I found them in the process of getting eaten by some huge snakes. I watched as they died and I enjoyed it because they always treated me like crap." Huge snakes? Man, that pedophile bastard. Naruto thought to himself. "Why did they treat you like crap?" he asked, and Karen looked him in the eyes. "I was made fun of because my ugly red hair. Everyone say it makes me look like a retarded nerd. They always singled me out when we were in the academy because of those reasons. Hell, any guy I end up liking used me and gave me false friendship when they needed my help with an assignment, and when they passed, whatever it was, they threw me aside like the trash I am. No one, absolutely no one wanted to be my friend, so I'm used to being on my own because fuck people." Tears began to slowly come out of Karen's eyes, and she tried her hardest to fight them back, but she wasn't successful. Naruto could relate to this girl because he was growing up in the mostly same situation. Most of villagers looked at him with fear or contempt, and he didn't really have any friends. Until he had met Irika, Sasuke, and her family. Then he associated with Shikamaru, Chuji, Hinata, Ino, then Shino and Sakura. He approached, placed a hand on Karen's shoulder, and the redhead looked at him with teary eyes. "Karen, don't be so negative," he said softly. "I don't think your hair is ugly. In fact, not many people have a beautiful hair like you. Don't mind some sort of gossip or insults from the others. They're just jealous of you because you have something they don't have," he stated with a smile. Karen just stared at the boy in front of him. At the same time, she unconsciously used her ability. She was shocked. He had an immense amount of chakra. More so than any jounin from Kusa, it actually shocked her a bit. Whoa, that's a lot of chakra. Where are his reserves coming from? Karen thought to herself. If there was another thing that she noticed, it was that his chakra felt very warm and welcoming, and right there she knew that he wasn't lying, combined with the sincere look in those bright blue eyes of his. "You who? Earth to Karen, are you there?" Naruto said, waving his hand in front of her face, snapping her back to reality. "Oh, sorry, I was thinking about something. You okay? You were staring into space." The boy questioned. "I'm fine. Thanks for coming to my rescue. She answered shyly, then looked up him. Naruto-san. Karen got out, getting his attention. Gently taking his hand, she placed 2 scroll in the palm of his hand. Here. One is my team's scroll. Are you finding the Earth scroll right? Naruto nodded, wondering how she knew he was keeping the Heaven scroll until he saw one which he found in the shinobi, who he knocked down, in his hand. Karen continued. There's no point in me keeping it any longer and… She stared at the second scroll for a while. The other is a secret order from my former master. It will be better if you give it to your Hokage once you meet him, she said in a serious tone. The blonde genin looked at the 2 scrolls in your hand, especially the second one. He wondered why she wanted him to give it to the Hokage. Whatever, he would know when he met Gigi. Naruto smiled at Karen. Thank you. Anyways, where will you go? Your teammates was dead and you don't know anyone here, he said concernedly. Well, I'm going to leave here at first, because 2 bastard comrades died. That means I failed the exam and idiots in my village will surely take this opportunity to mock and insult me. She slowly took off her headband. Therefore, severing all ties with Kusagakure is the best way, I think. She finished with a sad smile. You know you can stay here in Konoha. By the way, we're distantly related together, and you can be with me, you know, Naruto offered, but Karen shook her head. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't think I can keep on living and working as a shinobi or live in a ninja village. Even with a relative, the red-haired girl said sorrowfully. The shinobi works took my parents away from me. Then, because of shinobi's obligation, I have to throw myself into dangers. Missions I don't like to do. Tears well up in her eyes as she continued. If the mission wasn't completed, I would be abused, insulted, etc. I don't want to continue that life. Not again. She looked wistfully off into the distance. I just need a life like a civilian girl and do daily jobs. No war, no killing, no destruction, no shinobi missions. Just a normal life in a peaceful and normal place. Naruto looked at her sympathetically. He understood that feeling. Karen-san, wiping her tears away with her hand. Karen looked at him and smiled. I'm fine, she mouthed. Thank for listening to my words. And I'm sorry I wasted your time. The blonde shook his head slightly. If it's for venting out your emotions, I don't mind. He replied with a gentle smile. All right, if it's your decision, I respect it. However, this forest is very dangerous. Even excellent genins need to be careful and not to look down creatures in here. He stated seriously. How about this? I will use my clone to escort you get out of the forest. Karen looked him surprisingly. You want to help me? Are you absolutely sure about that, Naruto-san? You just saved me, so you don't need to do that. Nah, it's okay. Because you took of your headband and cut off your association with the Hidden Grass Village. You're just a civilian now. Naruto replied. And I'm a shinobi, and the shinobi's responsibility is guarantee civilians' safety. He said with a foxy grin. I will protect you and help you leave here safely. It's my promise. Karen could hear the sincerity in his voice and that attractive grin of his. She knew he was telling the truth. Oh, did she just think his grin was attractive? Nonetheless, she was glad to have come across someone who really wanted to help her. Okay, Naruto-san. She smiled, then looking down sadly. But in fact, I don't know where I can go after that. Naruto reflected for a moment before an idea hit him. He took a paper and a pen for his pouch, writing something on the paper before he gave it to Karen. I wrote a letter, taking it and going to the Wave Island. I have some acquaintances in there. You just hand this letter to an old builder naming Tsunade, and he will help you. You get along to foreign people? Karen asked surprisingly. Naruto beamed at her. We get to know each other by a mission. Don't worry, the people of Wave are good ones. I'm sure you will be happy there. The redhead couldn't help but smile at his words. I see. That sounds wonderful. She put the letter into her pouch. Thank you very much, Naruto-san. At your service, lady. Naruto replied humorous, making a hand sign and created a clone. Ready to go? Anytime, she answered with a chuckle. Until next time, Naruto-san. See ya, Karen-san. Naruto said, looking at the girl disappearing with his clone by a shunshin. All right, Next I will dash. Naruto didn't complete his statement as he suddenly felt a huge amount of bloodlust. Naruto sensed a dark chakra was releasing from somewhere, and then an aura of rage, hatred and intense killing intent radiated. They scared all forest creatures away. None, not even the mightiest of predators, dared come near the area this great aura came from. If it hadn't been for having greater exposure to Kurama's killing intent and chakra, Naruto could have been influenced in some way. Kurama, Ashura, what is that? Naruto asked as he sensed the aura and killing intent hung heavy in the air. This is really not good. Ashura mused in a grim voice. That may be Sasuke, Naruto. Sasuke? What do you? Something hit Naruto and he widened his eyes. Wait a minute. Don't tell me. Kurama nodded firmly. Yeah, the cursed seal, he said with an unhappy growl. It's activated. Aburame Shino was feeling thrilled. When Shino was a little boy, he was always a reserved, calm and quiet child. He rarely expressed his feelings in public and often kept his poker face in all circumstances. Even when he had started learning in the academy and when he had graduated, that still hadn't changed. Until he joined Team 7 and then Naruto and he had their first conversation, Shino opened up a little more and became more relevant for his comrades. Even his relationships with Sasuke, a girl from the Uchiha clan whom he thought it would be difficult to get along with, slowly improved. Now they were in the second stage of the Chunin exam. He couldn't believe they were still alive after they just confronted with one of the legendary Sannin, Orochimaru. The snake Sannin left after leaving an odd seal on Sasuke's neck. Although he didn't really understand what Naruto explained about the seal, he still felt something dangerous from it. His blonde teammate then left to search the Earth Scroll and was not back yet. Shino wanted to follow him, but he also couldn't leave the other teammate when she was still unconscious. While Shino was taking care of his teammate, an Otogekure Genin team appeared from somewhere. They demanded he brought Sasuke out as their purpose was fighting and then killing her, or they would get rid of him before they could fight the girl. No way he would let anything happen to the Uchiha girl because his promise with Naruto. That boy helped Shino so much and they even trained together. He was damn if he let anything happen to Sasuke. Shino fought very hard trying to hold out them, at least until Naruto came back. However, the fight against Orochimaru caused him to weaken and his chakra wasn't fully gotten back yet, and his enemies was a powerful three-man team. At that time, Rock Lee appeared from somewhere and wanted to support him. Shino admitted his taijutsu skills was very powerful, but it wasn't enough to encounter with Otogekure shinobis as Lee used a forbidden taijutsu move that left him completely vulnerable to Dosu's sound base attack, thus leaving him barely able to move as the attack left him disoriented and unable to continue fighting. Then Team 10 suddenly came out of the nearby bushes. He was sure they hid there for a while. All members of Team 10 were Naruto's good friends. Shino went out with them several times when Naruto invited him, so he could say that they built up a kind of closer friendship. He was really grateful, but their circumstances didn't still improve much, except Ino used mind transfer jutsu on Kin and took over her body, using Kin's body as leverage. However, Zaku promptly attacked her, hurting both Kunoichi in the process and knocking Kin out for the remainder of the fight. The Aburame felt disgust as the sound shinobi was ready to harm his comrade. Ino was unconscious. Shino and his allies were at a disadvantage, and at the same time, he felt the killing intent filled the air and caused him nearly gasping for air. Shino immediately turned around and what he saw horrified him. Not only him but also Shikamaru and Chuji. He didn't know exactly what was happening, but whatever it was, that was not a good thing. Shino was grateful he had Sasuke and Naruto as his teammates, and he would surely thank the blonde very much if he was here now. Standing right there, the source of killing intent and releasing a chilling aura was his raven-haired teammate. Shino almost didn't dare to look into her eyes because her looks in her three-tomoed Sharingan eyes was full of cold, terrifying rage and madness. The Aburame had a very bad feeling for that. Sasuke looked down at her hands and saw the right one covered in strange ink-black markings that had no particular pattern to them, although they seemed to resemble black flames. She then noticed the dark chakra radiating from her body, the color not the blue she was used to but rather purple. It left a strange pleasant taste in Sasuke's mouth to see the color of her chakra. Her eyes were stinging a bit and she knew her Sharingan had come on. When the Uchiha finally looked up, it was to a very interesting sight. Lee was laying face down on the ground, well beaten up and unconscious. Ino was being held up by Shikamaru as she just returned into her body from the sound kunoichi. Chuji was half lying, half sitting on the ground. Up in the tree under which she could feel Niji's and Tenten's chakra, but they had obviously not fought yet. A little in front of her, Shino was sitting on the ground and staring at her. He was also quite beaten up, his clothes dirty and ripped in places. Ahead of Sasuke, two enemies. Otogekure Shinobi. They were all staring at her with fear and shock. They were shaking. They were afraid. But the spiky hair boy tried to hide his fear after his cockiness. That's Sasuke? Ino asked, still leaning against the equally shocked Shikamaru. She just awakened. They were all staring at the markings now marring her skin. They had been glowing red like fire, but now they were frozen black flames left on her skin like tattoos. The purple chakra was still whirling around her, and Sasuke must have looked quite frightening if the enemy was just staring at her dumbfound. Even her fellow comrades seemed afraid of her. Or was it for her? That was not what matters now. Sasuke could feel a power she had not even dreamed about before. It was dark yet very powerful. She felt energized. She felt good. Because with this strength, Uchiha Sasuke would be anything but useless. She could deal with any enemy. She would get rid of them. No way she would let anyone harm her people. All of them wouldn't go away without getting their punishment, and her eyes turned merciless as she looked to sound shinobi again. Sasuke felt a type of blood lust she had never felt before. It had never occurred to her that the urge to kill could be like this. It was almost addicting. They were foes, opponents, targets, and more importantly, they were chance for her new power. She could use them as guinea pigs and tested her power. The question was, who should she start with? Shino. She called out to her teammate, deciding that he would write off the fate of one of these bastards. Who did that to you and everyone? Shino had to try not to be flinched by her icy and dark voice. It was menacing and weird. He swallowed nervously. Sasuke, your body. It's not fine, he said quietly instead of answering her answer. Sasuke looked blankly down at her hand, still covered in those black marks. Don't worry. More importantly, I can feel power surging inside of me. She replied with a merciless grin, the black tomos in her Sharingan spinning lazily. I'm feeling good right now. Everyone eyed her in horror as she said, but Sasuke ignored that. She just focused on Shino. Shino, say it, she demanded. Who the hell hurt you? The spiky hair guy from Otogekure suddenly smirked cruelly. Proudly, I did. In a blink, Sharingan red eyes snapped towards him, and the older teen barely didn't flinch. It would seem everyone had to repress the urge to flinch from those cursed eyes of the Uchiha clan. Sasuke then turned to face him, as he had just declared himself the Uchiha's next opponent. Good, she would start with him. Shikamaru, what's going to happen now? Chuji asked his teammate. There was a hint of concern in his voice. How the hell should I know? The pineapple-haired kid Hush screamed back at his best friend. It was obvious they were all stressed. The forest was taking a toll on them. Where are you, Naruto?